A Christmas Story, or the true story of Father Frost. Greetings, my dear little reader. No, I don't mean that at all. You are not little. For only little people believe that a miracle is only something you can reach out and touch, that it's all wrapped up in colorful paper waiting for you under the Christmas tree. But you're already big now, and so the story is especially for you. The story begins long ago in a cold and snowy land. At that time, when there were no cars, computer games, cartoons on TV, not even electricity, people got water from a well, and folks would warm up by huddling close together around a pot-belly stove in the middle of the cottage. Now is that hard to imagine? That's the way it was back then. In the wintertime, people would try not to go outdoors if at all possible. Or if they did go out, they hurried quickly along the street, not stopping to talk to anyone. They wouldn't even smile, for the frost was so gripping that even a smile would freeze on your face. Just think how long it would take to thaw your lips out. Well, those were the times of my great-great-great-great-great-grandfather. I want to introduce him to you. They called him Nicholas, and he was already getting up in years. He was rather short, wore little round spectacles, and grew a long snow-white beard in the style of the time. Yes, back in those days it was fashionable. Every winter he wore the same red jacket, now moth-eaten in places during the brief summers, and a warm cap the same color as his coat. Well, on the evening before Christmas, he hurried home, tired after work. There was nothing at all out of the ordinary, and even the wintry blasts were normal for the season. How he longed to be back home in front of his nice warm stove. That's why he was hastening so fast that the trees and houses fairly flew by. But as he passed one building, Nicholas saw a little girl sitting on the front steps. Of course, he didn't really fancy stopping, much less talking to someone. But this poor girl looked so pitiful. Grandpa stopped at all the same. "Ahoy!" he called out. "What's happened to you? Why are you sitting there all alone and not at home in this freezing cold? And what are you so sad about?" "I have no friend," replied the girl, "and I feel very lonely." "Yes, that is indeed sorrowful," agreed Nicholas. He wished to comfort the lass, but he didn't know how. "Look here, I'll walk you home, but before you go to bed, say your wish to the angel, who will be listening to you from the brightest star in the sky. And believe that a friend will surely appear to you, for this is a magical night, and your every wish will be fulfilled." The little girl believed the stranger. Before going to sleep, she looked at the brightest star in the sky and said her wish to find a faithful friend. You know, when folks grow up, childhood wishes seem to be nothing but whims and passing fancies. For grown-ups get used to thinking about those things that they think to be serious and important. Nicholas burned with a desire to help this little girl, but he couldn't imagine how. As he drew near to his home, he saw a puppy, the same one which was recently coming out to greet him every day on the way home from work. It was a very small puppy and wanted to play with him, but Nicholas simply had no time for sport, and now the freezing weather certainly didn't make him feel like playing. But on this day, watching the little miracle wagging its tail, he got the idea that this puppy would make a wonderful friend for the little girl. When he got home, Grandpa found a colorful ribbon, tied it around the puppy's neck, and led him to the cottage of the lonely girl. He left the puppy at the doorstep with the note, "Your friend," and hid around the corner. When she opened the door, she saw the puppy with its tail wagging and prancing around in circles, as if to show off the bright ribbon and the sign, "Your friend." The girl's joy was boundless. And I must say the puppy was no less delighted, for it had found an owner and caretaker. Seeing what happiness his gift had brought, a special warmth welled up in Nicholas' heart. Despite the bitter cold, this happiness warmed him from somewhere deep inside, from the depth of his soul. Nicholas had discovered the key to happiness. By making others happy, your own soul is filled with joy and warmth. This is the first secret to happiness, but not the only one. Another point is that one cannot stop simply by making one person happy and be satisfied with that. You naturally desire that everyone around will likewise be happy. Then a deep longing sprang up in Nicholas' heart that the children in all villages around would receive gifts too. So he fetched the piggy bank, where he had been saving up coins for many months to buy himself a new coat, and went instead to the toy store. He wrapped each toy with a ribbon and placed it at the front door of each home where a child lived. I think you can imagine what joy and happiness the toys brought those boys and girls, since you yourself eagerly await a surprise underneath the tree. Seeing all the happy faces, the warmth in his heart grew year by year, and now he started thinking how to make children happy in neighboring villages too. But the problem was how to go around to visit all of them in just one night. It would have been totally impractical. If he went on foot, it would take days, and you couldn't go by horse to those out-of-the-way places. A horse would get bogged down in the snow, and cars weren't yet invented. Usually people just give up on their dreams when they run into obstacles. But great-grandfather had passionate desire and steadfast faith. By all means, he would see the happy faces of children in the neighboring villages. Then, one morning on the day before Christmas, he saw a deer in front of his house. And not just one, but 7 beautiful reindeer. They had come to feast on a bag of bread crust he had forgotten and left on the stoop the night before. Not wasting a moment, he harnessed the reindeer to his sleigh. Wonder of miracles, they whisked him away so fast, it was as if they were not running but flying through the air. He dropped the package wrapped in ribbon at one home and dashed on to the next. When the kids found the gifts on their thresholds, they saw a sleigh hastily departing with reindeer in the lead and an old man with a red coat and white beard calling out, "A Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year!" Years went by and my great-great-grandfather grew old and could no longer ride around on a sleigh. Yet many children in all the towns around were expecting the old man in his red jacket on the night before Christmas. Then Nicholas asked his son to take his place. So his son put on his father's coat, fashioned himself a beard of cotton, and set off on the road. The happy faces of many children warmed his heart likewise, and he too found out the secret of happiness. He decided to take up his father's mission, and every year on Christmas Eve, he would bring gifts around to all the children. With the passage of time, he no longer needed a cotton beard, for he grew his own, and the old red jacket was completely worn to tatters, so he sewed himself a new one. Actually, he kept the coat of Nicholas, which is now preserved in the museum. And when he grew very old, he passed on the heartwarming secret to his son in turn. Thus the tradition was passed down from father to son. Time went by, and the villages grew up into towns and cities, and the descendants of Nicholas spread to other countries, where different names appeared. In the homeland of my ancestors, they call him Nicholas, and the children there still await him each year. In fact, they call him Saint Nicholas for all his goodness. In America, they call his successor Santa Claus. And in Russia, Father Frost, probably because he is the only one who's not afraid to go from house to house, bringing gifts and even the bitterest cold. In a certain country, one of my brethren is called Kalatun Babai, and in another, Mosh Krachun. They may be called by different names, but nonetheless, they carry on the work of our forefather. In Russia, one of my brothers had no sons and only daughters. The tradition might have disappeared, since, as I said, it is inherited from father to son. But one of these daughters loved her father very much and desired to continue the good work. When she set off on her way, she didn't bother to wear a beard, for she could grow no beard no matter how much time passed. And she wore a very lovely jacket, though not red to be sure, but what's important is that she continued to pass on the heartwarming secret of her great-great-grandfather. And that's the tale of Snegurочка, Snowflake Girl. But that's another whole story. We have all come to know the secret of our ancestor. It is by making others happy that warmth and joy will fill our own heart. So now you know the truth. Soon enough, my brother or my sister will be coming to pay you a visit. Perhaps my brother has not yet grown a beard of his own, which is why he wears a cotton one instead. Most likely his jacket is red, but more modern. A car takes the place of his reindeer, so he can reach you all the faster. But he has come to give you a long-awaited present and to see your face light up with joy. Maybe he has not guessed your most cherished inner secret. Please excuse him. Don't become upset. Why don't you write down your wish instead and give it to him personally? After all, the new year is still to come. What's more, who knows? It's possible even you could be a descendant of Saint Nick. Try to make someone happy yourself. And if your heart is filled with that special warmth and happiness, it means there is a little of him in you too. In fact, you can do even better than your forebears. For you don't need to just give presents on Christmas Eve. After all, 1 year is very long. And a gift doesn't necessarily have to be a toy tied up in ribbon. It could be love itself, to smile to someone who's feeling down, to speak a kind word, to give your mom a flower, to give up your seat on a bus or metro to a senior citizen. Any of these can be a genuine gift coming from the depth of your heart. Just begin, and your heart will take over and whisper to you what can be done. I wish you lots of success and a happy new year.